All right. Good evening, everybody. It is November 28th, 2021. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live. So, first of all, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a lot of turkey and, a lot of fun times with family, right? So, Thanksgiving is the time that we spend with our families and our loved ones. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters, right? So I want to thank you for joining me today for our post Thanksgiving show. I'm hoping that this show will give you a chance to relax and also, you can laugh and maybe burn some calories because we all need to burn some calories after Thanksgiving, right? So, anyway, on tonight's show, I'm very happy to announce that we are starting a new segment that I like to call Roundtable with Ronnie. So on Roundtable with Ronnie, I've invited a few of my great friends onto our show tonight, and we're just going to discuss politics and anything else that we feel like, because it's our show and we can do whatever we want, right? So, but before we bring on our roundtable panel, I like to play for you guys the statement that I released last week about my campaign. Now, I played it on my Facebook site for my campaign, but I'm sure that a lot of you may not have seen it. So I figured that tonight will be a good chance for me to air it here so you can all watch it. All right, so here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to come on and make a statement on my race for Bergen County Commissioner. Last week, the Bergen County Clerk's Office finally released the official results from the election that took place on November 2nd, and I was told that the results will be officially certified today. Our county clerk is currently in Europe and has recused himself, while the deputy county clerk is currently in Korea. As such, I was told that these election results will be certified remotely. Once again, your tax dollars hard at work. Although the final result is not one that we had hoped for, it is still nevertheless one that we can be extremely proud of. When I first started this journey more than 9 months ago, no one in Bergen County knew me, aside from my family and friends. Fast forward 9 months later, and I was honored to have received over 100,000 votes on election night. In fact, I, along with my county running mates, were up big on election night. In my particular race, I was ahead of my opponents by nearly 10,000 votes. However, as the days went by and vote by mail ballots were factored in, our county ticket started to fall behind. As it stands right now, with all ballots counted, I am extremely proud to have received nearly 119,000 votes. More significant is the fact that only 2.5 percentage points separate me from my opponents. This is indeed a monumental feat to come within striking distance of two entrenched incumbents who enjoy a massive voter registration advantage in Bergen County. First of all, I would like to show my appreciation and gratitude to the Bergen County Republican Organization and Chairman Jack Ziza, the BCRO Executive Committee, all the elected officials, municipal chairpersons, and county committee members for their support, guidance, endorsement, and help along the way. In particular, I'd like to thank NJGOP Vice Chair and State Committee woman Darlene Schottmeyer for her friendship and support. I want to thank all my supporters for believing in me by donating to my campaign, walking door to door with me, handing out my palm cards for me, spreading the word about my campaign, and most importantly, for voting for me. During this journey, I've met a lot of extraordinary people and a few lifelong friends. I'd like to thank my county running mates, Chief Robert Kugler, Bridget Kelly, Simone Zagonis, and Tim Walsh, for being the fine and exceptional people that they are. These people are amongst the best of the best, and I couldn't be prouder to be a part of their ticket and to have been through this extraordinary journey with them. I would like to thank Jack Citarelli for being hands down the best candidate we have had for governor in recent memory. His sheer devotion, dedication, and nonstop commitment to our state was the main catalyst behind our strong performance and the massive red wave that swept our state. Jack Citarelli single-handedly saved our party and moved our state in a better direction. His work is not done yet, and I look forward with great excitement as to what the future will hold for him. I would like to thank my mom and dad and my brother for their love and unwavering support in all my endeavors. I'd like to thank my wife for her eternal support and for holding down the fort and making it possible for me to go out and campaign each and every day and night. I'd like to thank my little boy Donald for being the reason and motivation for my run. Lastly, I'd like to thank God for always being by my side, and I trust that He will continue to guide me through this nonstop roller coaster called life. Although the election is now over, nothing has really changed. The only thing that is different is that my opponents now have 3 more years to exact unfettered and unchecked policies that are detrimental to Bergen County. Everything that I campaigned on and against will still continue. Your taxes will continue to go up, wasteful spending will continue to occur, lack of oversight and one party rule will still be the case. My opponents won this election due to vote by mail ballots, and these ballots will continue to hamper our chances to win elections unless we finally get a grasp on them and embrace them. We as a party need to find a way to close the gap that these mail in ballots will inevitably produce. Due to these mail in ballots, the Democrats essentially had an extra 20,000 votes to sprinkle upon their totals, and that is unacceptable. We as Republicans need to get more of our supporters to vote by mail. More importantly, there absolutely needs to be a forensic audit on each and every one of these mail in ballots in the future. Finally, the most important measure we need as a state and as a country is voter IDs. It's that simple. But actually, even more important than all of that is the fact that our Bergen County Clerk's Office absolutely needs to clean up the voter rolls. Those who have moved out of county or out of state, as well as those who have departed from this earth, need to be taken out of the voter rolls. In fact, it is their job to do so, but they fail at their job time and time again, either due to their incompetence or a willful dereliction of duty. A fair and transparent voting process should be a nonpartisan issue. Our right to vote and the sanctity of the voting process is the bedrock of our democracy. Without fair, transparent, and secure voting procedures, our democracy is broken, and as such, our country is broken. My parents didn't come to this country 40 years ago just to see it turn into a second rate, third world, one party mess. I'll never give up on my country, and neither will you. Together, we will rise up and secure our county, our state, and our country. Together, we will make sure that we leave behind the best America for our children. Together, we will see to it that common sense policies and concepts like accountability and checks and balances are back on the table. Together, we will teach our children that America is the land of opportunity and not a place in which certain groups of people are deemed oppressors and oppressed. Together, we will leave behind an America in which freedom and liberty are still our virtues. Remember, victory wasn't denied, just delayed. We will still win with Lynn. May God bless you, and may God bless America. All right, so so guys, that was my statement regarding the state of the race, and I meant every single word of it, right? Um, I'm not going to give up, and neither will you, and neither should you. So I know that together we're going to keep on fighting, and we're going to see what the future holds. There's a lot of people that I wanted to thank that I, couldn't really fit into that statement or that video, but I, who you are, and I want to take this time to thank a few people. For example, Frank Pallada. He ran for Congress in 2020. He was really a mentor and really helped me out, and I want to thank him. Let's see. A lot of the Muni chairs from all throughout Bergen County really helped me out greatly. Um, for example, towns like Fairlawn and Franklin Lakes and Glen Rock, um, Rochelle Park. Where else? Woodridge. These are all towns in which their Muni chairs helped me a lot, and I want to thank them all. The reason I didn't want to single out anyone's name was because I knew that I would forget some, and by forgetting some, I didn't want to, offend. But I want to thank everybody, truly everybody who came and helped me throughout this entire campaign, especially my parents. My mom and dad, they went to probably almost every single grocery and shopping mart and mall and parking lot and handed out thousands upon thousands of my palm cards. Now my parents are in their 70s, so the fact that they did this for me during the summer, during the fall, they walked a lot. So I want to thank them a lot, and I would be remiss if I did not thank my wife. My wife has been a nonstop, angel throughout this whole thing. She makes it possible for me to go out and campaign every single day and night. And actually, tonight is our wedding anniversary. So I wanted to wish her a happy anniversary. And when I'm done with this show, I will be home. But so there's so many people that I want to thank, and forgive me if I forget to mention, any people, but you know who you are, and I thank you greatly. And together we will make the changes that we want to see. All right, guys. So on to our roundtable. So our roundtable today, which is the roundtable with Ronnie, it is the first time that we're doing this. I brought on some of my great friends. So who do we have tonight? Well, we have Dianna, Cereijo, Mike Casale. Well, Mike Casale, he was supposed to come on tonight, but then he realized that his wife had made dinner plans, so he may be joining us a little bit later. But Dianna and Mike, they ran for council in Woodcliff Lake um, this year. They came really close. Who else do we have on tonight? We have Mike Reyes, a good friend of mine. He is a political consultant and an entrepreneur. He hails from the state of New York. And speaking of New York, our final guest tonight is Aidan Rowan. This is Aidan's first time on our show. Aidan Rowan is from New York. He is he's the future of our party, right? He ran for council in Stony Point, last year, at the tender age of 19. So I believe he was the youngest person in the history of that town to run for council. And he was the former president of the YRs in his county. And so Aidan is here with us tonight. He has worked on many campaigns. The most recent campaigns that he worked on was for Holly Shapizi, who is our state senator for District 39. So we're very happy to have him on our show tonight. All right. So let's bring him on one by one. So we got Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hey.
We got Aidan. Hello, Aidan.
Hello.
And we are waiting for Dianna. Dianna. Where is Dianna? Okay. Here we go. Hi, Dianna. Dianna.
Hi.
Dianna. Where is Dianna? Okay. Here we go. Hi, Dianna.
Hi, how are you? This is like the Brady Bunch setup.
Where is Dianna? Okay. Here we go. Okay. Why is there like an echo?
Like the Brady Bunch setup.
Okay, why is there like an echo? Okay, I think maybe one of you guys has like something on, like a microphone or something on, that's causing all this echo.
Not me, on my side.
Okay.
I just muted and unmuted.
Okay, so it's not you, Aidan. Dianna? Is it you? Well, Dianna, your mic is still muted.
I unmuted to see if it was
Is
effective.
it you?
No, I don't know.
Diana, your mic is still muted.
I unmuted to see if it
Okay.
was effective.
Is it you?
No, I don't know.
Diana, your mic is still muted. You guys hear that echo also?
I unmuted.
Yeah. Is it Diana? Is it you?
No,
I think it might be. Wait, Diana, can you mute yours for just 1 second again?
Okay.
Diana, is it you?
I'll leave and come back.
Wait, Diana, can you mute yours for just 1 second again? Okay. Mike, Aiden?
Yep. Here.
Okay. So clearly it's not us. So I think it might be Diana, but Diana is going to leave and then come back. So we're sorry to make her do that. But anyway, so guys, welcome to our show. And Aiden, this is your first time.
Yep.
So for all the viewers that may be watching right now who might be tuning in for the first time, Mike Reyes, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself and what you do?
Well, I spent during COVID, I spent the year actually traveling the country, working in different state level races and national level races, state rep, state senator, traveled to Missouri, Texas, Wisconsin, did some races in Rhode Island as well. And before that, I was actually in the tech space. I worked for Yelp, and I'd also worked in green energy sales. And right now, at this moment, what I'm doing is I'm doing remote consulting for various organizations for candidates that are running for U.S. Senator, U.S. Congress, or gubernatorial candidates. So I get to meet a lot of interesting people that were former players for the NFL, for example. I can't mention names, obviously. I'm under NDA, right? But I do a lot of that. And also I am on the board of a few Republican clubs in New York City as well. So, yeah, I'm just all over the place. But generally speaking, what I like to do is help Republicans get elected. I'm a conservative that is libertarian leaning, so I actually like less government in my life. And since I'm back in New York City, I'd like to actually implement some of those policies, at least in Staten Island, where we can be safe. But if possible in the future, maybe in all of New York City and New Jersey as well.
Okay, great. So that brings us to Aidan Rowan, our fresh face.
Sure.
So what do you do, Aiden?
So I'm 20 years old. I've been involved since I was in my mid-teens. I've started off helping candidates in New York, and then I kind of shifted to New Jersey a little bit, to Michael Casey's credit, who's been a great help in Bergen County. And he kind of brought me into New Jersey. So I was mostly recently working for New Jersey Senator Holly Schepisi, helping her win re-election, and she won by quite a big margin. And I worked for Assemblywoman Ora Dunn in Morris County, helping her out win re-election, and she had a nice margin as well. And of course, I helped the rest of the ticket, yourself, Ron, and Jack, and Tim, and everybody else. And now, I think I'm starting to shift my focus to the congressional races. I've done a lot of those before, and I've helped. I worked in the Georgia runoffs down in Georgia for about 2 months. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but it was a great experience, and especially with this atmosphere and the environment that we're in right now. I think we have a good chance next year to pick up quite a few seats, especially in District 5. I'm hoping, and I'm going to be helping Frank Pallada, who's running there. So we're hoping to see a nice victory there, and I think we'll have a new congressman in New Jersey.
All right, thank you, Aiden. And now I'm going to bring back Diana. Hi, Diana.
How are you?
Okay. So far, so good, right? Okay, cool. All right. So, Diana Cereijo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I don't have a long political laundry list like Aiden and Mike, but mine is quite recent. So my background, as you know, I'm an attorney, and I practice real estate law and estate planning. But what got me into politics was, a couple people may know him. He's the mayor of Woodcliff Lake, Carlos Rendo, who also ran for lieutenant governor with Kim Guadagno. And I called one time and I said, Carlos, listen, I want to get in. It seems exciting. I want to be on the trail. How can I help? So he said, okay, try it, give it a shot, run for council. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I met a lot of good friends, including you three. It's been a great time. I've had a great time. So, I ran for council in Woodcliff Lake. I tried it twice, and we'll see what I'll do next.
Yep. And by the way, your mayor, Carlos Rendo, was actually on my show last weekend, right?
Yes, I saw that. It was a great show.
And I believe Carlos is currently in the process of maybe thinking about running for county executive next year.
Maybe.
So
if you've heard something before me, then let me know. He hasn't spilled the beans yet.
Right. Yeah, I think currently there's a few people who are thinking about running, right? I know that Carlos Rendo is one of them. I think Mike Casale, who is the mayor of Montvale, is also thinking about it. And I believe, by next year, there's going to be a few more people who may jump in, right?
Yeah, I heard John Driscoll.
Okay. John Driscoll, of course, is a former freeholder, right, from Bergen County. Well, back when it was known as a freeholder. So we will see. Next year is going to be a big year. We've got the Congress, right? It's coming up. And I know in Congressional District 5, it's going to be a contested race. I know that Frank Pallada is running. So is Nick DiGregorio from Fairlawn, right? He's a former military guy. And I believe there's another guy, I think Fred Schneiderman, right? From what I've heard, he's like a hedge fund guy and he's thinking about running. So we'll see. So guys, now that the election is, well, before I go into that, let me ask you guys about your Thanksgiving. How did you guys celebrate it? Let's start with Dianna.
Well, we don't have that many people that are here, my relatives that are around. So it was just a couple of us. So we decided to go to Prime 103 in Park Ridge, which is one of our favorite restaurants in Bergen County.
Great. Yeah. I heard that's a delicious place, right? Very, very fancy.
Very good. Family owned. The restaurant is very consistent. The food is great. The owner, Jerry, he's always there to invite you right out the front of the door.
And by the way, if you guys don't know, Diana's daughter is like an Instagram / YouTube star, right? She's got like 100,000 followers.
No. I wish, not even close. But if you can see, it's about books. If you see behind me.
Yep. So just so we're clear, that is actually a real background. That's not like a virtual background, right?
No, this is real. And the majority of this I'll show you is all Sophie's books.
Wow.
So she has a children's platform about children's books, talking to other children.
Okay. I know that Aiden currently holds the record of being the youngest guy to run for council, right? In the Stony Point.
Yeah.
Perhaps in a few years, your daughter might actually beat him, right?
Or she might be his assistant on the trail.
Yeah, who knows?
I might be hers.
All right. What about you, Aiden? What did you do for Thanksgiving?
We went over. Most of my family lives here in Stony Point. Like all of my mother's siblings and cousins and my grandmother. So we went over to my aunt's house and celebrated, and then I left for dessert at my aunt's house, who actually lives in Wanacue. So I went over to Jersey and visited with them.
Okay. For a New York guy, you sure are in Jersey a lot.
Yeah, I am. My dad's a Jersey guy. He was raised in Elmwood Park. My grandparents still live there, and so I make my way over there a lot. Okay, great. What about you, Mike Reyes? Yeah, I know that you're all over the place, right? You're in Texas, you're in California, you're in South Carolina. You're like all over.
Yeah, I'm a nomad, but generally speaking, when I'm not in New York City and I'm not traveling around the country, I spend time in Rhode Island where my family is. This past Thanksgiving, we actually spent the Thanksgiving evening at my best friend's house. They're like family. We're raised together, so my family goes to their house. There's like 12 of us, and traditional Thanksgiving fare: turkey, pies, mashed potatoes, everything you can think of. They have it there. So
okay,
generally speaking, just traditional Thanksgiving in Rhode Island.
All right, we have a comment from Basil. And I guess that's for me. Happy anniversary. Thank you, Basil. Thank you. Basil, as we all know, is my biggest fan. He's 92 years old. He watches my show every single week. So we love you, Basil, and happy Thanksgiving. For Thanksgiving, what did I do? Well, we celebrated with my parents. We had turkey, mashed potatoes, and the works. So it was a pretty standard, meal. but it was always good. I mean, it's good to be with family, right? And especially after this last election, right? It's good to just kick back and just not think about anything related to politics for like a few days and just eat and relax and just have fun, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Not worry about the calories.
Yep. Well, I am worried about the calories, but
We'll get there. Don't worry. We still have 6 months till June, right? 7 months now.
exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. God.
All right, guys. So now that we're post Thanksgiving, the next thing to look forward to is the Christmas and the Hanukkah. The Hanukkah celebrations. Which I think today is the first day of Hanukkah, right?
Yep. It's the first day. Happy Hanukkah.
So happy Hanukkah to all our Jewish friends who are watching. Oh, we have a hi here from Peter Kulacortis. Peter Kulacortis is a defense attorney, a powerhouse in Hackensack. He can get literally anybody off. Like, so if you killed someone and you go to Peter, he can get you off like, scot free. So I don't know how he does it, but he has that power and that legal acumen to to do that kind of that legal magic. All right,
a lot
guys.
of business, huh? Good having to have.
Okay, guys. So what are your thoughts on this past election? Let's start with Dianna.
Well, what happened with all of us, or many of us, I should say, is that, we were ahead election day, you get excited, and then the mail-in ballots come streaming in. And the problem with the mail-in ballots, what happened to me personally, I'll tell you, is that, it cuts off the election early. So a lot of people didn't get to meet me or hear my story and who already had submitted their votes. And it was many times that I would hear, I'm so sorry, I already submitted my vote. I wish I hadn't, because I didn't get an opportunity to meet you. So that's really the sad part about all of it. On top of it, that we need voter ID registration, that's the other portion. But the other portion is you're cutting the election short and people are not getting to see our candidates or meet our candidates personally and are making preemptive selections.
Yep. What about you, Aiden? Because I know you worked on a few campaigns.
Yeah. My opinions on it are, we won quite a few races in Bergen County. It's nice to see that we picked up some council seats in Dumont and Paramus, obviously, and Palisades Park, and Ed Durr. That was a nice win. I mean, we picked up seats in the state legislature. New York, or on this side, everybody did great. Most winning by huge margins. And it's especially nice to see winning Virginia. It was a sweep there, and unfortunately we couldn't get Jack across the finish line. I don't think it has anything to do with Jack himself. I think Jack was a great candidate, highly qualified. I just wish there were some more resources given to Jack to be able to get across that finish line. And there were definitely some opportunities for other pickups too, throughout Bergen. I think we did extremely well considering the circumstances, and but I think there's always room to grow. There's obviously there's a need for a bigger volunteer base. Obviously there's a need for more funding and more money, and there's always a need for things like that. But for the countywide candidates, I think they all did great considering, there's how many more Democrats in Bergen County than Republicans. So I'm pleased with a lot of the results. And I'm, at the end of the day, I'm happy that we could say that we worked hard and we gave it our all, we gave it our best, and, we look forward and we work for the next one.
Okay. Now, Aiden, you ran for council last year, right? In the primary.
Well, yeah, technically this year, but June, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, we're still in 2020 and 2021.
I know.
So you ran this year in the primary for Stony Point Council in the primary.
Yep.
And you came up short, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the lessons that you learned during that campaign?
So it's different in New York. The primaries are, the ballot position isn't like it is in New Jersey, so there's no county line. It's just luck of the draw. In fact, they pull out of a hat to see who gets the ballot position. So on the ballot, it doesn't show who the political party has endorsed. So here in Stony Point, I was not endorsed by the Republican committee. The town is, you know, a 5-0 Republican board. And I ran in the primary, I think the first primary in 100 years here, with a running mate, Kevin Nolan. So there was 4 of us in the primary. I was the youngest guy, and I came in 3rd place. I lost by about 180 something votes when the rest of the mail-ins came through. What I learned is that never underestimate the power of an establishment, of a political committee that has well developed, almost like tentacles, if you will, throughout the community, of their reach and their knowledge of who they know and who they can bring out to vote. And also, another thing I learned is, you know, everybody, you know, there's people that will tell you, oh, you're going to win, you're going to win, you're going to win. I should have blocked it out and not listened to them, because I found myself working less on my campaign and more gloating and thinking, oh, you know, I'm going to win. But the eye on the prize is, you have to make sure you always have your eyes on the prize, and make sure that you don't get too far ahead of yourself, and make sure that you're out there every day working as hard as you can and not thinking you're going to win. Make sure you think you're running 10 points behind. And that's my take on my election. Every election's different, but that the one up here was that I totally believe it was, you know, basically based on, you know, not a high voter turnout. There's about 3,600 registered Republicans in Stony Point, and only about 700 voted. So that doesn't come down to much.
Are you going to run again?
I've thought about it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I have to see.
I think you still got some time, because you're only I think now you're 20, right?
Yeah, I'm 20 now.
Right.
9 months away from 21.
Okay.
So looking forward to that.
Let me ask you, you know, most people your age, 19, 20, right?
Yeah.
They're going off to like frat parties and doing a lot more fun stuff. What was it about politics that made you want to, like, you know what, let me forego the beer kegs and the parties, and let me go door to door and campaign and try to make a business?
Well, sometimes politics can turn into a bit of a frat party at times, but
that is true. Yes,
you know, we do have a good time at the fundraisers and the galas and the nice. We do have nice parties, you know, and there's always something new to it. You know, it's every day. It's like something could change. I mean, I think the drive that I had behind coming to politics is that you could really make an impact on your community. You could really make an impact on your country. And you can really help a candidate cross the finish line. And I have before, and it's a good feeling to know that when you work so hard on something, at the end of the day, you won. And it's always something new. There's a social atmosphere to it. You can make a lot of friends. You can make a lot of enemies, but you can make a lot of friends. And you know, a lot of people say, you know, don't trust people in politics, and you know, there's a lot of untrustworthy people, but that's almost a stereotype. There are a lot of good people in politics, and I've come to meet a lot of them, and I've enjoyed my time in politics, and every election is no different than the next, and I'll never find myself thinking putting out signs or knocking on doors is beneath me, because that's the ground level of a campaign. That's what gets campaign.
Well, yeah, I mean, like putting up signs and knocking on doors, that's the bread and butter, right?
Yeah, it's the bread and butter of a campaign. Politics. And I think that's where a lot of people lack nowadays, and not just consulting, but you know, there's different parts to different campaigns, but you're never too good to knock on doors and put out lawn signs. You know, that's something everybody should do. And you make the best of it. You have fun. You bring a couple friends, and you get them out there to go knock doors or stuff envelopes or do whatever. Get the family involved. I mean, my sisters, I have 2 twin sisters. I've brought them on all the campaigns I've worked on, and they they're not into politics at all, but they stuff envelopes and put out signs, and they even go knock on doors sometimes. And they did it for me, so it's a fun thing for me, and I always liked it. And you could do well in it.
Yeah. I think it's probably easier to run for politics if you had a twin, right? So you should probably get one of your sisters to run, and then they can kind of like take turns with the campaigning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
All
think
right.
they'd run. My one sister's at Sacred Heart, and they're going through their school and stuff. I don't think they want anything to do with it, but they are Republicans. They just turned 18 on November 6th. So first thing I did was bring them their registration papers and make sure that they got registered Republican.
Right. So there's no pressure there, right?
No.
Okay. Let's go back to Dianna for a second, because I forgot to ask you. So after the course of this campaign, what did you learn, and what were some of the hardships that you felt that you encountered through this whole campaign process?
A lot of the hardships that I felt, or the largest hardship I'll tell you, is that people had preconceived notion of me just because that I am an R Republican, right? So you have to break those barriers and those walls. It's quite difficult. They stereotype you a certain way in aspects, and you have to say, listen, I'm here for the better good. This is my belief. That's the hardship about it. People just are not looking at you as a candidate. I know we try to talk about inclusion all the time, but sometimes it's a little difficult as a Republican. You don't feel comfortable saying you're Republican, because I had people tell me, okay, if you're a Republican, they would crumple up my pamphlet in front of my face and throw it on the floor. Yeah. That was really disheartening, and that happened. I can't tell you how many times, right? So if we're going to be inclusive, or we talk about diversity and inclusion, I don't know why the Republican Party is not included in that. I don't want to be judged because of my political affiliation. I want you to see me for me, the hard worker that I am, and listen to me and listen to my beliefs. That was by far the hardship of it all, that overreached everything else. Other things we can work on. I could have walked more, done more. I've learned a lot. What I've learned from it, my personality, I am an attorney. I am not a litigator, Ron, as you know, for a certain reason, because I don't like public speaking so much. Ironic as it is. So when it's a large room, I don't like to speak, and I don't like to litigate. And my background is I was a court mediator for Hudson County for over a decade. That's what I'd like to do, is I like to bring people together. So I feel like that's what I've learned most, is to break those walls down and learn how to speak in public and learn how to speak to people, and in comfortable situations say, I just have to do it. And I've learned just to feel more confident, I think.
Okay, great. Now, Mike Reyes, you haven't run for office yet.
No, I'm not going to for a while.
We're waiting, Mike. We're waiting for you.
No, I'm not going to run. I like what I'm doing. I like consulting, and my goal is more so diplomacy rather than working for a gubernatorial candidate once they win, or in the White House. That's what I like to do. I don't really like politics. I like being more in the background, to be honest with you.
Right. So, Mike, what I was going to say was that, you focus most of your career so far behind the scenes, right? Yeah. But I'm sure when you're behind the scenes, there's a whole host of problems there too, right? So what are some of the biggest problems that you have encountered as a political operative?
I mean, I just want to say, first off, my idol is actually Steve Bannon. That's the kind of person that I aspire to be. I don't know if you guys know Steve Bannon, CEO of Trump campaign 2016, chief White House strategist. One of the smart. I've met him personally a couple of times. One of the smartest persons I've ever met in my life. Rather, sorry. So problems that I've encountered, to be honest with you, with candidates, I haven't encountered many problems. It's mostly been with campaign teams. Sometimes there's a lot of volunteers or paid staff that don't really get along with each other. And even when they're working for the same candidate, there's some aspects of the candidate's policies that they don't necessarily agree with, and they have trouble campaigning for. For example, sometimes you have a I won't say pro-abortion, pro-choice person that's working for a candidate or Republican, right? They're both Republicans. The candidate's Republican as well, but they're working for a candidate that's pro-life, and they clash there, right? They don't feel comfortable knocking on doors for that person. That's for the most part. But besides that, I haven't had really problems with any candidates. I usually get along well with them. And I just want to talk about the campaign that just happened, the elections that happened in Virginia, New York, and New Jersey as well. So Aiden, in New York, I feel for you because I worked on Shelley Luther's campaign in Texas. You know Shelley Luther, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she won the first round because there you have a runoff if nobody gets 50%. In the second round, the main opponent, actually beat her by a large margin because the Governor Abbott, backed her. And again, they had establishment money going with them.
Yeah.
In New York City specifically, I'm happy with the way we, won seats in Long Island. But I didn't like that Curtis Silva only got 20% of the vote because generally speaking, we need the Republican in the city to get 30 or 40% of the vote. So we have a chance at winning the gubernatorial race next year, which I'm also invested in because I'm actually on the board of Joseph Holland, who's running for Attorney General on the Republican ticket. Harvard grad, Harvard lawyer, Cornell grad, Ivy Leaguer, businessman, helped a lot in the community. African Americans, son of the first Black ambassador to an European country, I believe. One of them. Great candidate on paper. Upstate, they even have a stadium named after his family, Holland Stadium, because he almost made it to the NFL as well. Again, great candidate, but a person like that will have a really hard time winning if in the previous year, the mayoral candidate can't even get 30 or 40% of the vote in New York City.
Yeah. I think a lot of the issue with that is that with the mayor race, is that Eric Adams wasn't looked at as a far left extremist. And some of the things he even says, even I agree with, like him standing up to what's going on right now with the BLM riots and stuff. I mean, I'm not a anti Black Lives Matter statement believer. I'm against the movement, obviously, but the statement is what it is. I agree with that. Black lives do matter, but Eric Adams has stood up to that. I mean, he's standing up for the rule of law. He's standing up for police officers from what it looks like. So I think I would have never voted for him, but in a way, I think he's looked at as a bit of a moderate, and Democrats to even some Republicans and police unions backing him probably had a lot to do with, some of the percentage points that we lost there.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I hope that you're correct. But the problem is that Florida is growing in Republican population. What does that mean? That we're bleeding out Republicans from New York City and New York State as well. That might be an issue. They might have just voted for him regardless, because even if he was a far leftist candidate like De Blasio, he probably would have won. Look at Nicole Malatakis against De Blasio in the last election.
Yeah, right? No, I don't. I don't think the race is even winnable anymore. I think, like, I love Rudy Giuliani. I think a lot of the issue is that Rudy Giuliani is not looked at as the Rudy Giuliani of the early 2000s anymore in New York City.
Right.
Yeah, because the people now are farther left than they were before.
Yeah.
Before they was kind of like, okay, we're far left, but the previous mayor, the mayor that we just voted, that ran against Giuliani the first time around, is destroying our city. Let's give this guy a try.
Yeah.
New York City, you can talk to somebody in the subway and talk about Giuliani, and they'll be like, wait, I didn't like his party, but I liked what he did for the city. So
yeah,
that's a little bit, Giuliani's a special. It's just also a timing thing with a person like Giuliani.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
Well, speaking of Giuliani, I guess there's talk that his son might be running for governor.
Yes,
he is.
Is there any truth in that?
He is. He's running. He's filed.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, he's filed and running. He's got a campaign website. I've seen him at a few events. So
do you think his name, his last name, will be enough to help him win the nomination?
That would be a detriment to him because of the fact that Giuliani went around the country helping out Trump, because Trump is very unpopular in New York City. Look, he moved to Florida, right? And because of that might be a detriment. But Ronnie, just quickly also, I forgot to talk about Virginia and New Jersey. I want to make a huge point. So in Virginia, the reason why they weren't able to steal the election, one of the main reasons was, he won by a large margin at first, right? It was 10 percentage points, and they slimmed it down. They couldn't slim it down fast enough for them to take the election. But the RNC, the Republican National Committee, invested a lot of money on putting boots on the ground to make sure they didn't steal the election. Because they didn't think New Jersey was winnable, they didn't invest nearly half the resources in New Jersey that they did in Virginia.
Yeah.
Maybe if they would have invested the same amount of resources in New Jersey, you guys would have won, and we would have you guys would have a great governor right now in New Jersey. I spent a lot of time in New Jersey personally, and I know Mike Casale, so I would have benefited from that too. Who knows? maybe if you guys lowered your taxes, I'd move to New Jersey.
Yeah.
You guys have higher state taxes than New
Well,
York.
that's what Jack Ciattarelli was campaigning on, right? Like the fact that New Jersey has the highest taxes, the highest property taxes in the entire country, right? A business climate that is horrible for anyone who wants to open up a small business here, right? So I mean, those were all the issues that Jack was, talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
And the wooden spoon.
and yeah, yeah, and the wooden spoon. For those of you who don't know what the wooden spoon is, Aiden, do you want to talk about
so,
that?
I mean, I think me and Ron have been to enough Jack Ciattarelli meet and greets throughout Bergen County and Passaic County and all over the state to remember his stump speech. And he would, I think me and Ron recited it word for word at the Fair Lawn one at the end there. The wooden spoon is when Jack Ciattarelli's mother would get mad at Jack for raising hell around the house. She would get the wooden spoon out and never say that she was wait till Dad gets home. And if that one broke, she had another one.
Yep. You have it down pat. Good.
That's like a Dominican person talking about the chancleta. I don't know if you guys know the chancleta. Aiden, you might know it if you've spent enough time in New York City. They'll get the slipper out and they'll threaten you, the parents.
Now, I want to talk about a report that recently came out from Bill Stepien. So if you guys don't know, Bill Stepien was I believe he was the chief of staff for former Governor Chris Christie, right? He worked on Chris Christie's campaign and also on Donald Trump's 2020 campaign. So Bill Stepien and his firm, his consulting firm, they came out with a study that kind of analyzed the past race, right? And some of the conclusions, or what they said was that there were a lot of hot button issues that perhaps Jack could have talked about that might have motivated more voters to come out and vote. Some of these hot topic things that they said that Jack should have talked about was the CRT, and also about the fact that Murphy wants to do a vaccine mandate, right? Now, do you think this is true? Do you think had Jack talked more about these things, it would have motivated more voters to come out and vote for him? Let's start with Dianna.
I don't know, because I've been to many Jack events and he watched the debates and he spoke about both issues extensively. He was very clear about it. He's very clear on his platform, on his page. Voter turnout was very low. How do we get voter turnout just across the board, not even just for governor? It was very low. It was very low in Woodcliff Lake. It was very low statewide. How could we get it above 40%? I think that's what we need to look at. I don't know, but what I saw, like I said, he spoke about both issues and Jack was very clear.
Yep. Okay. What about you, Aiden? What do you think?
I think the issues he spoke about, I think, were clear. I think the issues could have been spoken about more. Could have been put more in the ads and in the places that he needed to pull the turnout from. I mean, there was enough Republicans in the state that didn't vote that could have voted and it would have overturned the election. I mean, he also didn't pull any turnout from his home county where he's won countywide before in Somerset, and Diane Allen's home county in Burlington County where she's supposedly very popular. They both went blue. That was an issue. And I think, to speak to Mike's point, they put a lot more resources in Virginia. It's also the job of the candidate's team to make sure that the campaign has raised enough money, got enough boots on the ground to get them to the point of the RNC standards to then bring the resources to the state. So I don't really think the RNC cares about whatever state it is, but if they show well in polling numbers, or if they show enough door knocks and people out on boots on the ground, and they have fundraised an insane amount of money, and they've done all these things, and they meet all these qualifications like Glenn Youngkin did, and unfortunately I like Jack, but he did not. The RNC probably would have put more resources early into the race in New Jersey. And this year was perfect, and with the right environment for Jack to win the state. I think it was a major. I think there were some mistakes made, and I also, the Democrats were already spending money in California and Virginia. They weren't spending as much in New Jersey. I mean, it was just the right time to take it. I wish we could have done something more, or had more people involved, and I definitely think there should have been more boots on the ground in key areas to poll turnout, especially in Somerset and Burlington
Okay.
counties.
Now let's talk about Trump. Okay, Trump is a dominant figure in the party. I personally think that he's probably going to run again in 2024. There are people saying that Glenn Youngkin, he kind of reached out to a Trump for Trump's help. Jack didn't. Do you think that was the difference?
Hey, Ronald.
Let's start with Mike.
Sorry, I want to say something. So
Sure.
This is breaking news. You've heard it here first. I can't tell you how I know this, but let's just
Okay.
say that I know somebody that spoke to Trump personally. Again, this is breaking news here. That is very credible on my side. That told me that Trump said that between him and in the conversation that we're having, he will run in 2024. So he will run in 2024. This is breaking news, I guess, for you guys.
Okay.
By my close circles that I know around Trump. So I personally think that Youngkin didn't really do much with Trump. He only had one.
Well, I believe like the night before the election, he had like a tele rally, right? Like
Yes.
a virtual rally where Trump he kind of like came out and supported him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But this is important because you have to look at the Republican Party. For example, in Upton District in Michigan, I'm working in a campaign there. There's an adjacent district where Trump is very popular, but the Upton district itself, Trump is not very popular. So getting Trump endorsement in that district is not the best thing, situation. So in New Jersey, you might not necessarily want Trump's endorsement because there are a lot of more old school Republicans that don't really like Trump. Like even in New York State, Aiden, you might know more about this than I do. But in 2016, I believe, Trump wasn't very popular in the Republican Party in New York State, correct? At first, like it was so I forgot who the other person was, but there was another person that was actually more popular than him at the time when he first came out.
He wasn't their favorite, but by the time the primaries reached New York and New Jersey, everybody's already dropped out.
Yeah, but a lot of the older, like the older generation of the Republicans. I can't mention names here, can I? I'm not gonna. Let me not mention names. But a lot of the older families in New York State that work at these elite clubs don't support Trump
because they know him as a Democrat.
But you know what, Aiden, we can't mention names here. We don't want to defame anybody, but some of these families that I'm talking about.
Yes, yeah.
They jumped on the bandwagon because they wanted to run in New York City or Staten Island. Nicole Malatakas, that guy I can name drop. Very anti-Trump, very pro-Rubio. Now she's pro-Trump.
So she's the state chair.
Yeah, but you look at Staten Island. I was working with Joe Calderaro on that campaign against Nicole in the primary, Republican primary. I would talk to people and be like, listen, there's a video of her out there circulating that saying that she doesn't support Trump and she supported Rubio. Yeah. And we'd be in a better place right now. This was in 2018 if Rubio had won the presidency, right?
Yeah.
So people would tell me, oh, it's a fake video. It's altered. She really supports Trump. I'm just saying that a lot of these Republicans, that's at this, at the level of running for office in Staten Island. But in New Jersey, a lot of people that come out to vote, I don't necessarily think that Trump would have been a benefit to Jack personally. That's my opinion.
To speak to Aiden's point, right? Aiden, you said that, and this is true, right? 40% of the people came out to vote this year.
Yeah.
In Jersey, 40%, right? Which was roughly the same as 2017. So a lot of the Republicans sat home and just didn't vote. Dianna, do you think if Jack had embraced Trump more, it would have made a difference? It would have pushed more of those people to come out and vote?
No, I personally don't think so.
No? Yeah, I agree.
No.
I think the issue with polling Republican turnout right now is not going to be whether or not you have Trump's endorsement or not, because Youngkin was endorsed by Trump, but the night before, how many people when they went to vote the next day really knew that? The issue right now, I think, and this is an unpopular opinion in our party, but I'm not a believer in voter fraud. And I think it's not a talking point for Republicans to be using if you're trying to pull our turnout out. Because I was in Georgia for 2 months. You're telling people that their vote didn't count in the last election, but you want them to come out and vote in this one. It doesn't make any sense.
That's an issue, Item. That's a huge issue.
People
very big issue.
And vote. And I watched 500,000 Republicans not come out and vote in the state of Georgia in the runoff election, and they handed it to the Democrats. I knocked on thousands upon thousands of doors where people said to me, I'm not voting. Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene told me not to vote. And I like Trump. I think he was a good president. But when you're talking about voter fraud and then you're coming in and doing a rally to tell people to go out and vote, it doesn't contradict well with Republicans when they would rather just sit out and ignore an election and not go out and vote for a senator or a
But this is
governor.
my issue, right? So I think most Republicans can agree that Governor Phil Murphy hasn't been doing a great job, right?
Awful.
So by and large, Republicans don't want him in power. They want someone new. So given that, why is it that only 40% of Republicans came out and voted? I mean, do you guys have? I mean,
Ronald,
what are your thoughts on that? Let's start with Dianna.
Oh, sorry.
Ladies first.
There's a girl.
From what I heard, people I've heard exactly what Aiden said. Listen, if it's voter fraud, my vote doesn't count. Why bother? And I've had to sit there with many people and tell them your vote counts. And either if you think you didn't, you can't give up the fight. So that was the largest problem that we've had in that aspect, is you can't contradict. You have to pick a lane in which way you're going. You have to motivate people to come out and make them know that their vote does count. You have to keep the fight going. And that's the problem, is getting excitement, feeling that their one vote makes a difference. And I've told this to our mayor as well, to keep moving forward on all elections. You have to stick by your stance, but more so, we also need to concentrate on how to get the voter out. Voter turnout has to be one of the top issues that we tackle, because 40% is just not acceptable.
You have to make sure the voter turnout's high on our side.
How do you excite the voters? Do you excite the voters with the candidate, or with the issues that the candidate talks about, or with what?
I think it's a culmination of everything. And I had this conversation actually with Assemblyman Auth, and he said, listen, you have to talk to people as a friend. This is not a business transaction. You are doing me a favor. Could you come out and do me a favor and vote for me? I need your vote. And when you bring it down to a personal level, that they're voting for a human being, they're not just voting for a ticket. It does translate. It means different. So you know what? He or she asked me to do a personal favor, and I'm going to take the 10 minutes to go do that. And I think that does translate well. So you need to bring it down to a friendship level as much as possible, right? Very relatable. And I think that would make the difference. Not transactional, friendly.
All right. Mike Reyes.
So I agree with what she's saying, because I think, Aiden, you saw the senatorial debate between Laughlin and the opponent. I forgot his name, the black gentleman.
Warnock.
Yeah. So she was a better candidate on paper for her voting record. Not great, but it was a better candidate in general. But Warnock, when they had their first debate, Warnock seemed so authentic. Even though he was saying a lot of crap, he had a lot of bad ideas, let's be honest. But he seemed very authentic. And she just seemed so polished and rehearsed, kind of like Hillary Clinton and Trump, right? Because you'd be in jail, kind of lines, right? From Warnock, and then
Purdue didn't even show up to his.
Yeah, for the other one, yeah. But I wanted to say that suppression polls in places like Missouri don't work, because people are Republican. They're going to come out and vote regardless. I've seen during the 2020 election, I saw a gentleman that had breathing problems with his little breathing machine go to the poll and vote in person that election day and wait in line for an hour. Yeah. But in places like Jersey, where you had the University of Rutgers, I believe, saying that there was an image gentleman, Jack, was going to lose by a large margin. You have those people saying these kind of things in a blue state. What's your incentive to go out and vote? If you're in a state that could flip easily, you're going to go out and vote. Or if a state that's a Republican, you're going to go out and vote. But in a place like New Jersey, if I'm just a guy that's thinking, hey, they're going to steal the election anyway, and University of Rutgers says that, which is credible, says that they're going to lose, why am I going to go out and waste my time?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, guys. I knew this was going to happen. I knew we were going to go overtime. So very quickly, let me go around this virtual roundtable and ask you very quickly about your thoughts and predictions for 2022. Let's start with Mike.
It's going to be a bloodbath. We're going to win. It's going to be like the Tea Party times 10. Even places like, example, San Antonio, where the state representative or state senator race went red in a blue plus district. That's going to happen all over the country. That's why you see all these congressional candidates or people in power right now basically saying, hey, I'm dropping out. I'm not running again. And I just want to say one more thing. Aiden and I are going to the New York Republicans 109th Gala. We have a gala every year. We had our gala made basically world news last year for having an unmasked gala in New Jersey, in your state. We don't know where it's going to be. If you get a ticket on the site, they'll give you the location 3 to 4 days beforehand, but you have to make it. We have over 25 official guests. We have Rudy Giuliani, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West running for governor in Texas. We have Jenna Ellis, and also Steve Cortez, the former Trump advisor. And we have people that I'm bringing out that are running for attorney general in New York. It's going to be an amazing time. Look it up.
Okay.
Google it.
And this is coming up next weekend, right?
This upcoming Saturday. It's like about $350,
Fourth.
but it's worth it.
Okay.
It's
So
gonna
very
be worth it.
quickly, Mike, how many seats do you think the Republicans will pick up in the House and in the Senate?
We're down by like 6 right now, right? I think it's very
We're
possible.
down by 5 in the House.
In the House, we're down by 5, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna so we're gonna definitely pick up. I think that between 50 to 100.
50
Steve Bannon
to
says 100
100
seats for the next 100 years.
2010 up 63.
Okay. All right, Aiden. What about you?
I think that we're going to win. I think we're going to obviously win back both branches of the Senate and the House. I think that we'll pick up the seat in Arizona, Georgia, New Hampshire, Nevada. I think we'll pick up governors, not just in those states. But I think, the 2010 and 2018 were very close elections for the governor of Connecticut. I think that's a possible win. Maine, the former governor's running. There's a great possibility there. Great possibilities in New York. There's great possibilities in Michigan and Wisconsin, all over the country. I think we're going to see quite a few wins. I think we'll see about 65 to 85 wins in the House, all throughout the country, whether they're Democrat districts or Republican districts. But Republicans got to get smart. They got to realize their vote counts. They got to realize that they need to start donating to the right candidates in right areas that can win, rather than donating to candidates that may be running in a D plus 75 district. You could donate to a Republican running in a D plus 1 or a R plus 1, somewhere where your money counts, where you're donating just your $20 donation. Send it to a candidate who can win, who needs it, and make sure that I think that Republicans are going to really need to get smart and figure out who our kingmaker is going to be. And but I think that under the circumstances, as far as Biden and this administration is going, we'll see quite a few wins just off that alone.
Remember the Alamo, San Antonio.
Thank you, Aiden. All right, and Ms. Cereijo, you get the last word.
I think the energy is great. The momentum is going for the Republicans. I think we have a lot of people great coming up. I think in a couple of years, we're going to be saying congratulations to Jack. And I think we're going to be saying congratulations to you, Ronald Lynn.
Oh, thank you. And also you, Dianna. All right, guys. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me tonight on the first session of Roundtable with Ronnie. This was fun, right?
Yes.
That's a fun.
Yeah.
As always.
Always. Okay, guys. I want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving once again, a happy Sunday, and I will see you guys all really, really soon. Okay.
Definitely. See you in New York
All
City.
right.
Jersey.
Take care.
Everyone, take
Yep.
care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Good night. Oop. All right, guys. So that was my first roundtable with Ronnie. Oh, and actually, we had a comment here from Peter Kulacortis. I agree with Dianna. We have to campaign for the VBMs and a second campaign for the in-person voting. That's true. From this point on, campaigning for office is a two-pronged approach. We got to fight for those VBMs and we got to fight for the in-person votes. Guys, so I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. If you want to come on our next roundtable with Ronnie, please email me at realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. Okay, realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. If you think you have a good story to share, if you think you would be a good guest, that is where you email it to. Okay, and once again, you can find my page on Facebook, facebook.com/realtalkwithronnie, and of course, you can find me on YouTube, the YouTube channel, by searching for Real Talk with Ronnie. Tonight was the first time that this show is also streamed directly to my YouTube channel. So from now on, this show will be streamed straight to my Facebook page and also to the YouTube channel. So please do go on YouTube and subscribe to my channel, guys. All right, guys. It has been lovely talking to you tonight. We will be back next Sunday and possibly sooner. I was trying to do a show during the middle of the week. We did that once with Billy Prempe, and we're going to try to do more of those. But of course, the weekdays are kind of tough. I got to nail down a specific time with the guests. So, but it's a work in progress. So in the future, we hope to have more shows during the weekday. And as always, we will always have our show on Sundays. That is, unless, of course, my wife gives birth really soon. Because, my wife is pregnant. Once again, she's due end of December, but I suspect this child will come a little sooner because he's been very, very hyper. So we will see. So in the event, well, when my wife gives birth, I believe I will be off the air for a few weeks, right? So fear not, but I will be back. In the meantime, we will be back here next Sunday. Um, next Sunday is the 5th, right? Next Sunday is the 5th. We will be here with a great guest next Sunday. I believe my guest next Sunday is with Sean Hyland, who is running for Congress. And I believe I might want to say District 2 or 3, but anyway, he's running for Congress against Andy Kim. So he's running in the primary, and whoever wins that primary will be up against Andy Kim. So hopefully I will have Mr. Sean Hyland, who also happens to be a pastor, on my show next Sunday at 8 p.m., guys. All right. So I guess that's all for today. Once again, I want to thank my guests for joining me on this roundtable. We will be having more of these roundtables in the future, and I hope to see a lot more of you on this virtual roundtable. All right, guys. So good night. Have a lovely rest of Sunday, and I will see you all next week, same time, same place. All right, guys. Bye-bye.